Come and get started on a new mission, a new direction, a new intention. Welcome to 5.8G Alive at Connections 50 Plus. I am Terry-Ann Joseph Brathwaite.
And I am Jennifer Gibbons Joseph, catering to all your prospects in the third act of life.
Economic well-being, social gratification, personal fulfillment.
Join us on Wednesday at 6 p.m. on Connections 50 Plus Facebook page, YouTube channel,
and on Gael the Caribbean. Good evening. Hello. Welcome to Connections 50 Plus 5.8G Alive show. I am Terry-Ann Joseph Brathwaite, one of the co-creators of Connections 50 Plus, which brings you 5.8G Alive. And with me is my other co-creator.
Hi, everyone. Good evening. I am Jennifer Gibbons Joseph, the other co-creator of Connections 50 Plus. Welcome to today's show.
Well, this is the culmination. Well, you see, we prominent colors. It's red, it's white, it's black, which means we're celebrating something significant. Trinidad and Tobago's independence.
Yes, we are.
We are culminating this August month, which is so special. We started with emancipation, and now this Saturday, Trinidad would have celebrated independence. Jamaica would have celebrated independence just a couple of weeks ago. So happy independence to Jamaica. And Jennifer, we had a great time this month, really looking at that journey, emancipation to independence, and coming back to missions. So what are some of your reflections before we get into our session? What are some of your reflections on this process that we've gone through?
I see the link, a direct link between being emancipated and being independent. You know, it's a direct link. A lot of, when we spoke and we heard, members of our tribe talk about how they felt about being emancipated, it also always, came back to where we were, where we're going, where we are now, and I see that as so being emancipated, recognizing our ancestors, recognizing the challenges that they went through, the challenges that our forefathers went through, and what we ourselves went through. And then you look and say, but right now, that is in the past. It's more faded when you're ready. What we're focusing on now is how can that, yes, we are emancipated, but it's the same as being independent. And when I look at it, I see the similarities. And I like that theme from emancipation to independence. And yes, we can discuss the similarities, from both of them.
Yeah. It is a very, very interesting process to me, because I remember you look at it and you were mentioning earlier that's when we were preparing how, yes, we're in political season across the world. And when you tend to ask the average person about how you're going, how you're feeling, it seems like most people are not willing to allow themselves to share how well they've done. And what so we almost feel, I don't know if it's the thing we're boasting or whether it's false pride or whether we really want the world to think that we're dissatisfied. But you brought up a point that is correct. Most people tend to answer that question from their needs, unfilled ones.
Yes.
And we don't ever, or very rarely, you might hear somebody say, oh, I'm great, I'm fine, I'm happy, I'm whatever. But we don't hear a true reflection or honest appreciation of the needs that have been filled. the many wants and desires that have been filled. And if we think about how did it come to be, given who our ancestors were and where they came from and the situation that we started with here. So how come you in this place as you are now? And I think if we really celebrate on that, we really focus on that, we might have some different answers and different feelings.
No, I totally agree.
Yeah.
Because especially now, as you said, the country celebrating independence. But who are the country? You know, we the citizens, we are the citizens of the country. So when we talk of country celebrating independence, should really be we are celebrating independence. And you know, I just listened to some of the interviews on the street, and you say, how you feel independence coming up? Are you celebrating? And I said, no, look what happening. And it, as you said, immediately it goes to all the negative things that happening. No celebration. So as far as the thinking is that we have nothing to celebrate.
Yeah.
Because there's too many wrong things going on, too much of all the negative things, the crime, the this, the that, the other. And then following that negative thing, that why should I celebrate? You get the blame. I cannot celebrate because, and it's nothing to do with because of me as a citizen and what I am doing and why I could celebrate, but it's always why the government or the NGO, or, you know, always a blame. So I agree that we should look at it differently, because I must say, Terry, and as a citizen, we have come a long way and we have a lot to celebrate.
Mm-hmm.
If we focus on the celebration and not on the other side.
We are too tied into politics, which happens to be extremely negative in our environments, a lot of our environments. And I think too many of us are defined by politics, and we feel that, and again, it comes back at Jennifer to that discussion of permission. So if I am defined by politics, if I say I am good, it means that I'm giving credit to my political foe. If they in government, so if my foe is in government, then I have to be bad. And if my foe is in if my support is in government, then I am good. But you know, you bring up that with citizenship, and if we really see where we are as a continuum from emancipation to independence, then the person that we are accountable to is that ancestor, whether they came on a slave ship or they came on the Fatal Razak or they came on some adventurous boat looking to break away from, I don't know, some European prison or whatever. If they left Europe, it's because they weren't having a good time. Okay. So the people that we have to be accountable for or accountable to when we say how have we done, it's not the government of the day or the opposition of the day. It is that ancestor. And I think that is what really we need to reflect on when we talk about this emancipation to independence and permission. And I think if we generally take that perspective, I think very few of us will will have bad things to say.
But very, as you said, very few of us do look like we just focus on what's happening now.
Yeah.
And not what's happening now to us, what's happening now in the country. And you tie in the political, and I must say that influence how we think and the comments we make, you know? So I would say, yes, we put aside that aspect of it, try not to think of who to blame in the government or the opposition, leave that alone, and really think of how we came here, why are we here, and how we have really progressed. And I mean, if we are honest, Terry, I mean, seriously, if we look back from our ancestors to now, I do hear people say, oh, we ain't got nothing happening, we ain't this, I mean, be honest, be real honest. Focus on our lives and where we came from and where we are now. And when we say we emancipated, it means that we have overcome all those things, all right? We no longer have the shackles, as we said earlier on when we spoke about emancipation. We really don't have those shackles. They have changed. We can't even refer to them as shackles. The shackles become now challenges. And it's challenges with the challenges we are seeing. So we have the solutions. We actually have the solutions. And we should focus on how are we dealing. Learn, yes, of course, we understood all that happened. But what are we doing to really now take ourselves from being emancipated to being independent?
I would take that a different step. And as I said, the beauty of this show is that we have so many different perspectives. And as I said earlier, for me, I am a Caribbean person. I'm sorry, and I may offend some people when I say this. I do not have links to Africa except that it is my ethnicity, it's my race, it's my bio. Because there is something called colonialism that cuts and changed my entire history. And when I think about emancipation, I think about it is such a celebratory time, because if some bold-faced European had a ship and went and steal people from Africa and put them here, and I take the perspective of, all right, so I have been cut off of culture, cut off of religion, get into forced labor. But look at where I am. I ask myself the question, the person I'm accountable to is not the state. It is that ancestor. And I ask a question to see, was their sacrifice worth it? I am completely unshackled. And I have been for a long time. Generations of my family have been unshackled. But I still have to account to those ancestors who paid the ultimate price. Because what have we done? What have generations of the Joseph Braffett line done that would make that ultimate sacrifice worth it? And my answer is that, boy, have we done a lot. Boy, have we done a lot. We have our own homes. Generations have increased in terms of their education, professional development, making a difference in our communities, in our workplaces, in building the economy. And it is because through our families, we develop such solid human beings with good character that they could go out into the world and produce. So I will say that based on what I have done, that ancestor whose spirit is looking at me now is smiling. They are smiling and they are feeling happy. And they are saying, okay, it was worth it. I'm not disappointed in how the thousands of their line that they are looking at. And I think that makes emancipation really, really special to me. They are proud of me and how I have done. And I'll make a point, Jennifer, that even if I may have been renting, even if I may not have been successful on the academic chart, once you have done something with yourself and your condition is better, way better than when that last ancestor closed their eyes, whether it was with a whip, whether it was naturally, whether it was what. If they can look at him and say, yes, my DNA was strong and it went through, I think we have something to celebrate for emancipation.
Yeah, Terry, and when I link to ancestors like you, I am a Caribbean woman, but my roots, my values, a lot of my things I do, culture is really rooted in the African culture. And when I say that, I look at the values. When I look at my ancestors, to me, and my upbringing, it was heavily rooted in the African culture, the way we did things. As I say, Caribbean is, when you say Caribbean, you talk about, as I say, a melting pot. But my pot have more. About 90% of the African culture. Because, as I said, I was brought up with very strong roots, And for me, when I think, and that question of how have we done? How are we, would the ancestors be proud of us? When I think of that question, I go back immediately to my values, very strong in certain values, my appreciation of my Blackness, my appreciation of, I love who I am. And I love who I am because of the pride I have, that passed down, that being proud of that strong rooted, African pride. Let me just put it that way.
Yeah.
So to answer that question, I would say, yeah, I did great. I learned. I am I consider myself a very strong woman in this case, and I consider my family ties very strong. And that is as a result of what I have learned from my ancestor. Not just learned, of course, his experiences, and we have seen, and we were taught about, and we have graphic pictures of what went on and what they went through. So we are proud where we are. You want to tell me we haven't come a long way? Hey, that growth has been fantastic. It has been huge to where we are.
Happy. The ancestors are celebrating. They are happy.
Oh, yes, because we did it right. We did it right. We may have taken different parts, huh? We may have taken different parts, but at the end of the day, we have really, we crossed those seas. There we good, in terms of being emancipated. Yeah.
Yeah. And I really look forward to the day, the year, when there is a serious focus on where emancipation is perceived as, so having gone through the journey over the sea, the journey over, in our instance, the sugar plantation as slaves, or in other, although this is emancipation, African emancipation in Trinidad, we are a melting pot. And when I think about where I am affected by the East Indian indentures. I am affected by the European settlers. I am affected by the first peoples, because when my DNA is checked up and I do my 23andMe sample, they're all there.
That's the Caribbean, and that's what makes you Caribbean.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And
that is where the Caribbean comes
I think of each one, and I think of the fast overseer who interfered with my great-great-grandmother on my father's side. He was a nobody when he was in Europe, because he would not have come if he wasn't. And when I think of my maternal grandmother and a friendly little happy slave and somebody with one of the Amerindians that came from Venezuela in South, they were doing the little alliance. At the end of the day, we are in a much, much, much better place than wherever they were. And therefore, for me, this emancipation celebration, the shackles went long ago. And I think we must have celebration of our success, of carrying the DNA lines and building new families, new communities, new societies that stand on their own, which brings us to the independence story.
And actually, and as a country, that's how we became independent, because we went through all these, if you want to use the challenges, all these things, and we fought to be independent.
Yep.
And we are independent, but it's a continuous journey. It's not something that we sit back and say, yes, we're independent. We would, of course, as the challenges come, some things are very new, things we never experienced before, etc. But with our past experience, we can now handle it. And with all the different, we now being independent came a lot with all the technology, with the different economic system, a lot of things that we have changed. It is not the same. It is not the same,
Yeah.
So we need to really look at, just as how we said before, what is being truly emancipated. We have to look at how we truly be independent.
And if we go back and to answer that question again, what does it mean? And okay, you're not slaves, you're free. You could make decisions for yourself. But when our country celebrated independence and the queen or the king, or depending on who you're independent from, came, and it comes back to one of the biggest things about our independence is this independence parade. And I don't think that many people understand that why did the king or the queen have to come? Why did the colonial power have to come and hand over something? Yes, you have a flag, but what were they handing over? And I think you as a nation, they were giving up responsibility for you. They allowed you to have your own currency, which meant you figure out how you're going to earn your money to live. I don't have to send you subventions every minute. Critically, apart from your own currency. And I think we don't appreciate the fact that our dollar bills, wherever we are in the Caribbean, carries our coat of arms. That is what that means. You're not carrying the currency of some other nation. You are independent. You earn your own money. And if you bring it back to the family, you're individual, you have a job, you go and you control your pocket, you don't always have your hand out. Critically, you are responsible for your safety. And that is why independence is celebrated with a military parade. You have a Coast Guard that controls your borders from foreign. You have an army that deals with land. You have air guard. You can defend yourself. You have the resources to defend yourself. And so an independence parade says, I can defend myself. So if we take those things and we look at it on a micro level and say, okay, am I independent? How much control do I have of my economy? Can I generate money to support myself, support my family? Can I do that? Do I always have to be dependent on others? All of us is a very, very small percentage of us cannot. Now, that is not to say that we are in fields or in jobs that we absolutely love. Not everyone is self-actualizing, but we have been able, especially our cohort, especially us 50 to 80, have been able to get the resources to raise our families, provide safe harbor for us to live. So we have, like our country, been able to say to whoever colonial power that controlled us, parents, we are independent. We can take care of ourselves.
And that's what it is. Being independent is you're managing your lives. With the government, as we know, they manage in the country. All right? But it's just as we managing our lives to the best of our ability with the resources that we have. Our goal always is for more. You know, we will never go for less. It's always, we have whatever we have, we want more of it. Because we want a better quality life. We want more comfort. We want, and then when we finish with us, it's family. Right? We want the family, and then so don't go. So we always want more, even with ourselves. We're never satisfied. We are happy with what we did. And last week, when you mentioned, Terrian, what we didn't, let me maybe take from our ancestors, because our ancestors didn't celebrate, because they didn't see the need to celebrate. They had nothing to celebrate. Although at the end, when slavery was abolished, it was a great celebration. So let's look at that.
Celebrated all the way.
Because we did celebrate, and we maintain that when it comes into that type of celebration, because for us in Trinidad, well, in all Caribbean islands as Caribbean, we do celebrate great with our carnival. That is us. But it's like one celebration, but we celebrating with others, but do we celebrate ourselves? You know? And if I see the Independence Day celebration, is we have a country, I don't want to say it's not the government. It's not the government.
The country. It's the country.
Country is celebrating independence. And as you mentioned, and I totally agree with you, the ways to celebrate it, because that parade is to show that we are independent. Mm-hmm. Because a lot of the things that are being displayed, even with the military parade, and they always joke about, they bring out the new trucks and the new this, and they never seen them before, etc., etc. It's a display of, this is where we reach.
It's our capacity to take care of ourselves.
Right.
That's what
it is. And of course, they will never be right. Just as how we don't find that we are perfect and we have so many faults and we have so many things to do. When we look at it, they're not saying that everything is right in the country, but this is it. And we're not going down, I'm not going down the political way. I'm just using us saying that if we look at ourselves as independent people and we question how we have become independent, and we still have our goals, and I see that being independent is the ability, Terrian, with the resources we have and our capabilities to move forward and make society a better place, a better place to live in. And for me,
it's a great place. It is. I'm not going future tense. I refuse to go future tense. I am pausing. Yeah. It is a great place. Because if we think of 4th of July, think of Russia, think of Britain, think of China. Every nation that celebrates its independence runs out a parade that says to the outside world or community or society, listen, I can stand on my 2 feet and I can defend myself, and I have the capacity to deal with all our trials and tribulations. Yes. Now, when we look at our independence parade, why do they bring out these big water trucks and bulldozers and stuff? It's because if any natural disaster occurs, our army has the capacity to clear any river, clear any forest, and reach me. I feel assured that they have the resources to get to me. So even though I have to handle a little couple days of stress, help is coming, because I have seen help is there. And I think for us as individuals, we have to do our own independence parade. And I want us to do that this week. Check off all the resources. In case of emergency, what resources are there? Now, you might have a backhoe or a truck, but you might have a vehicle, you might have a network of people who you can call on to support and to help. And I think if we are not aware of and I answer these questions. Can I impact? Can I impact my family? Can I impact my friends? Can I impact my community? Can I have an impact based on what, having used the resources that I've developed over my emancipated life? Am I in a position to have an impact? And if that answer is yes, it reflects your independence. It reflects your, and independence doesn't mean you're cutting off everybody. It reflects your ability to control to a degree your environment. And I think it is so important to pause, recognize that is your achievement and have a celebration. No comparison about compared to this or compared to that. It is about celebrating now how much, how you've used your emancipation to get you to a space where you can have an impact on those around you. And as we say, families make communities, which make societies, which make nations.
Yeah. And I want to talk, Sarian, as you say, families make communities. And you always want to mention our social responsibility as it links to communities, to building your community. And as you said, build the community, we build in the nation, we build in the country, right? And this is, to me, building a community, working within your community, helping to develop your community is really a great step in towards us, the country and independence. And with the social responsibility, we look, and as I said, we always figure others could do it, and we can't do anything because we don't have the money, we don't have this, we don't have that. But some simple things, as when we look at what we can do as a contribution, and I will link it to, as a family in your home, you try to do as much as you can to make it a comfortable home with what you have. All right. So you want your family to do well, all your loved ones. You will give them the support that they need so they can become better people, better citizens, etc. All right. You look within your home, and we're not talking about size or anything. And that's, again, let me go back to what we have learned from the ancestors. And it could be a very small, in those days, dirty.
A 10 by 10 hut. It's a hut. A one-room hut.
You come and you sweep it clean with that cookie boom. It have to be clean, and you put whatever tin pan, and this is me, right? So that's what I know.
That is Jennifer.
And it has passed on. You're croton in the tin pan in front of the little house, but it's clean and it's organized. And whether you're wearing hand-me-down clothes, whatever, it's clean. It is about cleanliness, it's about respect, it's about being proud, all these things, these values. And that is how we build our family, of course, with education, etc. If we can't do that within the family, then it would be difficult for social responsibility. All right?
Yeah.
When we can do that, and we take what we have learned that passed down to us, Terian, into the community, into society, we can make a difference, a positive difference, because we would know, especially now with the rainy season and the same government begging us to make sure don't dump, don't do this, don't do that. Do we really do it? Or we leave it and say it's not for us to help it in the community. There are so many things that it take time, but we have to have pride. And if we have that pride in ourselves, within the community, as I say, the community is part of the nation.
This nation is made up of communities, which is made up of families. So it doesn't matter if you go up or you come down.
Yeah,
it's the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what independence is about. making some decisions.
Yeah. There's also another aspect, and the point you made is very, very clear and correct. You know, what is home? Because it is that nucleus, and home, what is home, what is family? And you're right, Jennifer. It's an ordered, organized place. It's a clean place. It is a place that you can come from settled. And I think there's
Yeah.
also another aspect that we have to pay attention to that is understood, but I want to make explicit that the home is a protected and nurturing place. It is the place
Yeah.
where you are fed physically and spiritually and emotionally. And it is that safe place. So if we have homes that are organized, that gives us a sense of predictability and order in our environment. But we have homes where we know we can be fed, and I don't care what we're being fed with physically. It could be a biscuit, or it could be a cup of hot water, or it could be a 10-course buffet spread. But if we know that there is a place in our lives where we can be secure, we can be fed, we can be nurtured physically, spiritually, where we can be held and we can be protected. That to me is equivalent to all the military parades. That's the military parade in the home. The state has to have machine gun and ship and tank and big truck and water truck and backhoe and front loader to deal with our enemies within and abroad. And we have to have the police and the ambulance and St. John's and cadets. And, you know, it's amazing when you see the Independence Parade, how well prepared we are to deal with enemies within and without. But we have that also in our homes, which is critical to sending out independent persons. So it's organized, it's done the drill, it's clean, it's organized. But a lot of us, I think, need to do our inventory of whether we have optimized the nurturing of the heart, of the soul, of the stomach, of the will, to make sure that our defenses in the home, and I won't say defenses, I would say those strengthening features of the home, so that when we step out of the home and we go into the community, it carries something that we can add to the community.
Yeah.
Because sometimes we can say, step out there and help the community, but we are not aware of what do we have to carry to help. And unless you explicitly say it, and unless you explicitly say that if in our homes we nurtured people of character, people of strength, people who are compassionate, people who are proud of being upright and clean, and then we are letting people out into society who will not harm society. And therefore, when it's time for external enemies to come in, they're ready to join the army and the police and the county council and whoever is in government to really fight. And I think that is when you have a strong sense of a citizen. And if you have a good sense of citizenry, it does not matter who is in power. So governments become irrelevant. And if a citizen sees another citizen in need, that citizen contributes to helping that person that they see in need. So then we all have a strong, independent nation.
Yeah. And what comes to mind is togetherness. You know, it's together we aspire, together we achieve. You know, it is about togetherness and not, we tend again, and we using community here, and you look around to whatever area you're in, and again you might say, oh, I don't like what's happening, it's not like how it used to be, things has changed, whoever not respectful again, etc. But if we build that into our home, that respect, that pride, etc., into our home, into our children. And we show by example. We're not waiting. We're not waiting. We just greet, instead of we watching the neighbor and saying the neighbor X, Y, and Z again, going down the negative road, and trying watching that you passing them straight, and anytime you make a comment is a negative comment. We are not setting good examples, especially as us at our stage, a 5.8 G stage. We are the one really, when we looking within ourselves, when we looking to see what are the things that we can do to not to practice that independence. Do you say we independent? How are we practicing it? How are we showing our family or the community that we are doing the right things? And where did I read a situation where you find that person may be very upright and maybe, let's say, how they go about things, they showing that upright, that they're very upright and they're up in society, but they will pass their neighbor on the street, they will pass somebody from the community, they know they're within the community, but they will pass them, they will not offer to help, etc. So we need to do that again, that introspection, and find out, are we really operating in that way within our home? Because it starts, as I say, it starts within the home before we go out to the wider community, as they say, So when we talk about independence, I really believe that there are some basic things, basic qualities, basic activities that the way of thinking from being emancipated to being independent. And those are, again, you're making the right decisions, being more positive, helping others, setting out your plans, following your dreams. We spoke, I'm there now with dreams. I could use not goals, but follow your dream, and dream about what would really, what you want your family to look like, what you would like to achieve, how you want your whole community to be, what part you could play. Yeah.
And I mean, we took that decision, we took that discussion from emancipation to independence, and we still have a lot of bystanders, notwithstanding the tremendous strides we've made to make the ancestors so proud, notwithstanding the strides we've made to really have strong anchored homes that let positive, strong people into the community. Yet many of us are standing at the side and very afraid, not wanting to participate actively. And that is where we brought in the last topic of permission, because that's the most frightening one. Because realize, Jennifer, that none of us had to play an active and proactive part in that emancipation process. We had the receiving end of it. We were young in the independence movements. Some of us may have been supporters on the periphery, but I don't think there are many who were side by side with Eric Williams, Bustamante, and the other Caribbean leaders when they were seeking independence. But critical to carrying this forward into the future is giving ourselves permission to act. And most frightening of all, it is that word, make decisions. Because if you give yourself permission to be an active citizen, if you give yourself permission on this third act stage to say, I have all that wisdom, I have all this capacity and stuff like that, and all right, I'm going to make an impact into the future. We have to make decisions. They can't be sitting down and waffling. Yes, no, yes, no. You have to make a decision. And the other day we were talking, and a decision requires you to see clearly two paths. and choose one, which means you're giving up the other one. And many of us, the thing that stops us from moving forward, and then when we see very successful person, we must realize the thing that allows them to be themselves is that they have taken control of themselves and have given themselves permission to say, that's what I want. That's where I'm going, you know? And my permission statement, as I consider myself a happy, emancipated person and an independent entity, is can I make a decision to use and mobilize all the resources that I have? And these are financial, physical, human, spiritual, all the resources I have to make my dreams come true. Because you could sit down and dream, and a lot of people talk about their dreams. And when you look at it, they are not making a step towards activating or manifesting, you know. But you have the resources, you have the networks, you have the assets that are the result of your emancipation and independence. You have the vision. Call it dream, call it goal, call it vision. You've sat down and you reflected and you know where you want to be to carry on this journey that the ancestors started. But you're not giving yourself permission to use all those gifts to continue the process to pursue your dreams. And I give myself permission to make those decisions. And I think that is the most empowering thing that we could do for ourselves to celebrate that emancipation and to confirm and continue our independence, giving ourselves permission.
The celebration is important, Terry-Ann, and that, as I said, is what many of us seem unable to do, to celebrate these small wins. You know, this is that small, these small wins. The other aspect of being independent is for those sometimes that feel stuck and they don't know how to make the decision, is really seeking advice and support, you know, and that could help. Of course, it's seeking that support from persons who you know all positive with you, not to persons who would be negative and take you down the road that you're already on, right? But a different part, a more positive part. And celebrating you will make you feel so good. And I must say here, for thanks for those who called me to say, Jennifer, that show last week, you know what I'm doing? I celebrated my wins. Terry-Ann, that is so great. We didn't know how to wave that flag, you know, that victory flag. And it is so important, you know, to do that. It is important. It keeps you motivated and looking forward for the next win.
Yeah.
You know?
And Jennifer, you know, I really do believe that, you know, we talked about the young people, how they are, and they always feel I have to have more. I have to do more. It is not enough what I have done. And I really do feel that unless we take that victory lap and we don't see it as being prideful and self-absorbed, it is self-affirming, it is confirming, it is showing your children and those looking at you that you have to take a break and celebrate. And I think it is only having done that and satisfied yourself that you can then have that dream going forward. Because you know, there's a difference between dreaming about building on your success and making a goal for the next step, thinking that where you are is not enough. That is to me, that is slavery. To me, that is slavery. When I am never satisfied with where I am, and I think I have to always be doing something else, something better, and pushing yourself. And I think that victory lap, and I think the act of giving permission means that I am free to say yes to this and no to that. But if I don't relax and give myself permission, then somebody else is driving why I can't pause. Somebody else is driving that I am not good enough and I have to catch up. And I think that that will make my ancestors watch me cut eye and say, what's wrong with the girl?
Have to really to be careful of that negative legacy. You know, you hear the sometimes a family people say that whole family is sour. You know, they always they can't smile, they always look like they have problems. We have to be careful of that example we set in, because just as if we don't give our self permission to do things, if we don't celebrate the wins within our family, listen to me,
Yes.
our loved ones, those be the children, whoever within the household, the entire household, we have no celebration going on at all, of
No,
anything.
no.
You don't deserve to celebrate.
Yeah.
And
And then they feel they're never good enough. The worst thing is to have your children going out into the world starting believing they are never good enough. It means that somebody else is pressing their buttons. They can't self-affirm. And I think that is the saddest thing that can happen to a person. I can't decide.
we definitely have to watch that as the 5.8 you tried those examples of complaining and not taking the action and not celebrating. And celebration is not about having this sort of money to do thing. You celebrate in so many ways. And Taylor, let me just say this. We really, when we look within, ask ourselves, how often do we compliment each other? And I'm talking within the household. I'm not even going beyond. How often do we tell our loved ones those, say something nice, compliment it, have so many things you could compliment them on.
Something affirming. Affirm. Say yes, recognize a victory, recognize an achievement. Yep.
It makes a difference.
Yeah. I really do believe it is the thing that moves us on and makes the sacrifice of our ancestors' emancipation and the capacity we have built that have allowed us to be independent to move on. The next step, you will remain where you are with whatever you've accumulated. First of all, if you don't even take stock of what you have, you don't know what you have. So it means that wherever you started or whoever tell you what you are, that's what you believe you are. And you've never checked to see if it is correct or if it is exaggerated or understated. And once you determine who you are, all the things that you have, then who on earth could stop you from making a decision about moving forward for your betterment? Not illegal, but for your betterment. And when our children see us continuing to progress, we have, I mean, come on, Jennifer, this generation, our 5.8G, we built this town. Huh? We built this town. Some people could look at it and talk all the negative they want. That's your business. But I see a great nation, and I know the part that I played in making this a great place. And boy, oh boy, am I proud of that achievement and the achievement collectively with anyone. And every independence I pause to say, you go, girl. And if we are unable to do that, if we don't have the confidence in our capacity to be able to stop and say, yeah, I did really good. And from that platform of celebration, begin dreaming. So a dream that starts in a place of scarcity and lack is a nightmare, in my opinion. So unless you pause and take in, wow, I've done all this. My ancestors are proud. My family and those close to me, we've done really well. I think that sets the backdrop or the foundation for a really powerful dream, and for you to stretch and go forward. And if you don't do it, you wouldn't know the strength from which you are starting or continuing. And I think that's what I really want people to get from this month. I might sound like a crazy lady, but say what, that's one of my assets.
And we should really look at, as you say, affirmations, say some more, make up your affirmations,
Yeah.
you know, talk to yourself, be positive, a lot of positive self-talk, that helps.
And the affirmation doesn't have to come from a book written by someone else. Look at your life and create your own. It's right there in front of you.
Say, I'm a happy, emancipated, independent, you know?
With the ability to make decisions for affecting and impacting my future. I think that's last.
I make very positive decisions for my future. And you keep that serious. It really, really helps. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I really do. When we make decisions, are we making decisions from a place of fear, from a place of scarcity, from a place of lack, from a place of insecurity? If you're making decisions from those bases, but if you are not aware of how great you are, your decisions have to come from a place of absolute security and strength and confidence. And as Jennifer said, this is not measured by a bank account. It is not measured by the size of your house. It is not measured by the kind of meals you have. It's measured by your character, by your integrity, by the amount of love that is around you, by the network of people who care about you and think that you matter. I think those are the things that really make a strong foundation because they're hard to lose unless you're a real old scam. They are hard to lose, you know. And Jennifer, I want to say as my as we round off on this independence, you know, I said my last question of the ancestors is how would they feel looking at me? And as I think about dreaming and as I think about my next step, I come back to how do I feel? You know, how do I truly and honestly feel about my family? How do I feel about my life and the decisions that I've made? And those things set the foundation for based on how I feel, all right, where do I want to go next? You know, how high, how far? Or do I want to just sit down and say, I real good, I rock it back right here and enjoy it? You know, I have permission to say, hey, good, relay, pass the torch. I'm watching you now. And that's also fine.
No, I would just close by saying too, I'm full of gratitude, really, really full of gratitude. Um, Faith is so important, you know, having faith. And, you know, you mentioned the different qualities that brings you to that stage of independence, right? And it is also, in addition to doing affirmations, I also believe in writing. You know, not it don't have to be heavy journaling, but when we start really saying, what are your qualities? What are you so, you know, you have so much gratitude for, and you start, you know, it's a lot. Nothing is too small. You know, you just basically start for your health, your friends, you know, so many things that you can list and celebrate, you know. So I say celebrate life, just celebrate your life and don't let the, you know, to say those sweaty small stuff, I would say don't let the small things pass. We celebrate. Yeah.
So have a tremendous independence, everyone. Happy independence to Jamaica, Barbados, and all the Caribbean islands that are celebrating independence at this time. And Let's remember that independence is from happiness. So
Trinidad and Tobago.
yes. Bye.
+50 Tribe and followers from Trinidad and Tobago and the Caribbean.
Thank you for joining us on this Connections 50 Plus 5.8G Alive show.
We hope you enjoyed the lively conversation and look forward to seeing you next week.
Don't forget to like our Facebook page and subscribe to our YouTube channel.
We really love getting your feedback. Bye for now.